Hey guys, so in this video I'm going to be talking about my rheumatoid arthritis journey. I am going to be making a series where I'll cover pretty much all things to do with my rheumatoid arthritis and my natural healing journey. But in this video I'm going to be talking about my symptoms and diagnosis. So yeah, if you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. So to start from the very beginning, when I got diagnosed when I was 29, but about 6 months before my diagnosis is when I would say my symptoms started. So the very first symptom that I can remember having was knee pain. It was like a very subtle knee pain, and I remember it would just come like randomly when I would bend down to grab something and try to stand back up, and it felt kind of like a shooting or like a shooting aching pain, but because it happened so now and then, it was easy for me to kind of like push to the side. But I do remember at some point I was mentioning to my friends like, yeah, it's so weird, my knees have been hurting and doing this thing. And I kind of chalked it up to the fact that maybe I'm just getting older. I was like, almost 30 or whatever. And also I had just started back being more active, playing tennis. So I thought it could have been related to that. But it started happening more and more frequently. And that's when, even in my mind, for some reason, I thought, like, am I developing arthritis? The reason I thought this is not because I knew anything about rheumatoid arthritis, but just because I feel like in general, we kind of know that arthritis is just like when you start having aching joints as you get older. So I kind of mentioned like, oh, maybe I'm getting arthritis or something. And of course, my friends just like laughed it off, and they felt like, you're so young, like I'm sure there's nothing wrong. But then I started having my fingers swelling up. So even right now, actually, they're really swollen, like, this part here, which is a pretty typical RAA symptom. So I started having that, and then I started noticing that my shoulders as well were having pain. I would struggle randomly to lift my arms. So at that point, I was becoming more and more concerned. And I think when I looked it up, that was the first time that I seen rheumatoid arthritis and understood that there are different types of arthritis, and there is an autoimmune type of arthritis. So as soon as I was reading about it, I felt like for sure I have this. But I still was kind of pushing it to the side because, again, it wasn't consistent, my symptoms. They were just every now and then, even though they were getting worse. So then at some point, I started really feeling the effects of my symptoms. Like, it became more of a day-to-day thing, and it was affecting my daily life because now I was struggling to, again, like, do household things because my shoulders and my mobility was affected. My fingers are now more swollen, and it just started to become serious for me, and I was becoming more and more in pain. So I remember asking a friend who was a physical therapist type, and he was the one that actually recommended that I see a rheumatologist because I think he had an inkling that I had rheumatoid arthritis based on my symptoms. So because of where I was at the time, I was able to get in with a rheumatologist super fast. And I remember when I had my first appointment with the rheumatologist, my knees were swollen, my hands were swollen, and I was in a lot of pain. So as soon as I kind of told her, and she did even just a physical exam, she was already feeling like the rheumatoid arthritis diagnosis made sense. But of course, we ordered a bunch of blood work, and she gave me as well a cortisone shot or a steroid shot, which would give me, that month of relief while we waited for the blood test results. And I have to say, like, I was literally in awe how after taking that cortisone shot the next day, I felt like myself again, and I was like, wow. And I think once you have that contrast too of having no pain, you realize just how much pain you're actually in. So I just remember being so happy because I'm like, wow, I'm feeling normal again. And we got all the blood work back. We did a ton of stuff, and I was able to get my rheumatoid arthritis diagnosis So luckily where I was, it happened so fast, and she basically subscribed me the typical cocktail that they give you when you first get diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. So it was methotrexate, prednisone, and folic acid, vitamin D, and I think there was a few other things. But I knew at that time that I did not want to right away get on medication, also because I knew I would have to also get on birth control. And I spent many years like getting my body and my hormones back in order after getting off of birth control. So yeah, I knew I didn't really want to do the medication route, and I wanted to try the natural route first. And I talked to her about it, and she was kind of like, sure, if you want to, but basically, try and get on the medication as soon as possible because the first year is the most important. So she didn't discourage me from doing it, but she also very clearly didn't believe that it would be possible to do anything naturally. So after I got that diagnosis and after that cortisone shot wore off, I pretty much, like, my symptoms just went from 0 to 60 to 100. I was in so much pain. I was now affected in other parts of my body. I couldn't sleep because I couldn't, my neck would get really, really bad. I couldn't even turn my head at night. I couldn't move. It was truly so miserable. I was in so much pain. I was always swollen. I couldn't really use my hands. Walking would be difficult. So I was really going through it, and obviously mentally as well. I was struggling because now I'm feeling like, oh my God, my life is over. I can't, I'm not mobile anymore. The things that I like to do, like playing tennis and stuff, I'm not going to be able to ever do. And of course, online, you're seeing all of the things about how rheumatoid arthritis is not, you cannot cure it. There's no cure. And even a lot of people that were on meds, I was seeing a lot of them, in the Facebook groups and stuff, still struggling, still suffering, and the meds not really helping them, or them just having more problems as side effects of the medication. So it was definitely a difficult time for me. I remember I went back and asked her for another cortisone shot because at that time I had some family visiting, and I thought to myself, okay, while I start up on this natural routine, at least I'll have more pain relief. So I got a second cortisone shot, and that one honestly didn't even really work. I think I had some relief for maybe a week, 5 to 7 days, and then basically nothing. So even that wasn't working anymore. And I was taking supplements here and there, but I don't know, I think I was getting so ill that I couldn't really be serious about the natural routine as I needed to be. I hadn't done enough research. I wasn't serious about my diet because I was so fatigued. So cooking and preparing things, I just everything that it takes to be on a natural healing journey. I wasn't there, and I was just getting ill so quickly. So before I knew it, I was pretty much bedbound. I slept most of the time. I had so little energy and motivation. I was depressed. Luckily, I worked from home, so I was able to keep working. Looking back, I don't know how I was even doing that. Yeah, after about 3 months, I started getting more fatigued, and I was basically I would stand up and feel like I was going to pass out. And I was just thinking this was the nature of being so tired from arthritis, but I ended up passing out one day while trying to get some groceries from the farmer's market. And from there, I went to the doctor and found out that I now had anemia, which with rheumatoid arthritis, you can develop iron deficiency anemia, which I'm going to talk about in another video. I'll talk all about that. Another thing, after I got diagnosed, I started rapidly losing weight. So I went from being around 139 pounds to 105 pounds. I was so thin. And it was actually really scary. People around me, that was the first time I feel like people around me actually could like empathize with what I was going through because they had a visual cue that I was not doing well. So yeah, also weight loss. And I know for different people, some people gain weight, but I lost a lot of weight. And I do think that my anemia contributed to that. So that, once I found that out and I addressed that, I was able to have more energy to really start my natural healing journey. And I was able to, in a few months, get into remission, which I'm also going to do another video about. But basically, those were my symptoms, just to quickly run over them all again. Knee pain, shoulder pain, swelling in my fingers, swelling in my knees, wrist pain. I had really bad neck pain and little mobility in my neck. I often would also get a hoarse throat because, you know, there are joints everywhere in your body. So sometimes the area in my throat would be affected. And yeah, my feet as well. I would get pain in my feet. And my body was just inflamed in general. You know that rheumatoid arthritis is an inflammatory autoimmune disease. So the higher levels of inflammation in the body just throw the body out of whack in general. So I was having rashes. Sometimes like my lips would randomly swell. There's a crazy, crazy head heaviness and fogginess. Like you feel bad. And again, until you have that contrast of feeling normal and feeling ill, it's so hard to explain. But that was one of the worst things, like that head heaviness, but also the fatigue, the sleep problems. And as of recently, I've come out of remission. So my symptoms have been back and I've had some new symptoms, which are now in the TMJ area. I get really bad pain and sometimes like little mobility, so I can't open and close my mouth. So pretty much I'm one of those people where I'm affected all over the body, not just my hands and feet. So yeah, that is my diagnosis and symptoms story. But if you want to know more about my rheumatoid arthritis journey, again, follow, like, and comment below if you're also going through it, your tips, tricks, and yeah.